You know, when you think about the Indian knowledge system, what comes to mind? Probably a long list, right? Philosophy, medicine, math, things like that. But what if that's the wrong way to look at it? What if, instead of a list, it's more like a single living thing, like a giant tree with deep roots, a solid trunk, and all these interconnected branches? That's what we're going to explore, how this incredible tree of wisdom grew.
And that really is the big question, isn't it? I mean, how can one single tradition connect something as, well, out there as cosmic philosophy with something as down to earth and practical as city planning or even surgery? It seems impossible. But the secret, as we'll see, is in understanding how it all connects. Okay, so before we can even begin to understand this giant tree of knowledge, we've got to look at the soil it grew out of. And that soil, well, that's culture. You can think of it like the shared operating system for a society. It's all the patterns of thought, the values, the beliefs that get passed down from one generation to the next.
This diagram here, it nails it. Culture isn't just a straight line from the past to the present. It's this incredibly complex web. Everything is tangled together. Language shapes how you think, your values determine your customs, and rituals just reinforce all those beliefs. This whole web is the ecosystem that let the Indian knowledge system really take root and thrive.
Now, it's super important we get two words straight: tradition and custom. They sound similar, but they're not the same. A custom, that might just be how things are done right now in a certain place. But a tradition? Oh, that's the deep, powerful current that's been flowing for generations, carrying all those beliefs forward. The Indian knowledge system is a tradition. Its roots go incredibly deep.
All right, so let's start at the very bottom, at the base of our knowledge tree. We're talking about the roots. The foundational roots for this entire system are the Vedas. These are just this massive collection of hymns, formulas, and deep philosophical ideas that make up the oldest layer of Sanskrit literature. So there are 4 main Vedas, and each one has its own job, its own focus. You've got the Rig Veda, which is all about hymns praising the gods. Then the Samaveda takes those hymns and sets them to melodies. The Yajurveda, that's the how-to manual, with all the formulas for rituals. And then there's the Atharva Veda, which is just fascinating. It's packed with spells and practical knowledge for daily life, everything from healing to how to run a government. These 4 are the absolute core. Everything else grows from here. Okay, so from those deep Vedic roots, 2 huge branches started to grow. Think of these as applied knowledge and the tools you need to understand it. This is where all those abstract ideas start getting really, really practical.
First up, we have the Upavedas, which literally means applied knowledge. And these are the big practical sciences. You've got Ayurveda, the science of life and medicine; Tanurveda, which is the science of archery and warfare; Gandharva Veda, covering everything from music to dance; and Sthafatpatya Veda, the science of architecture, which gave us the principles for designing everything from a single house to an entire city. So, if the Upavedas tell you what to do, the Vedangas tell you how to do it right. The name itself, Vedangas, means limbs of the Veda. They're basically the 6 essential toolkits you absolutely need to study, interpret, and keep that core Vedic knowledge pure and accurate.
And here they are. These 6 disciplines are like the quality control for the whole system. You need Shiksha for the right pronunciation, super important. Kalpa lays out the rules for rituals. Vyakarana is for grammar, so the meaning doesn't get lost. Nirukta helps you understand the roots of complex words. Chandas is all about poetic meter, and Jyotisha, or astronomy, was used to figure out the right time for rituals. See? It's a whole system to keep the tradition intact.
All right, let's climb a little higher up our tree now. We're reaching the canopy. This is where all the intellectual flowering really happens. It's this huge, sprawling canopy of thought, and it's home to the 6 major orthodox schools of Indian philosophy, also known as the Shad Darshanas. This chart does a great job of laying it all out. Each of these schools, these darshanas, gives you a different point of view. That's literally what the word means, a different way of looking at reality and finding liberation. But, and this is key, they all accept the authority of the Vedas. It's kind of like they're all different trails leading up the same mountain. And the sheer range of thinking here is just incredible. You've got Nyaya, which is all about logic; Vaisheshika, which came up with its own atomic theory of the universe; Sankhya, which digs into the relationship between consciousness and matter; Yoga, which is the hands-on practice of meditation; Mimamsa, focused on interpreting Vedic rituals; and finally, Vedanta, which explores the deep philosophical core of the Upanishads. It's a complete 360-degree look at existence. So what's the big difference here? Well, it really comes down to the fundamental approach. The source material points out that traditional Indian philosophy, darshana, isn't just an intellectual exercise. It's almost always tied to a spiritual goal, liberation, self-realization. This is often seen as a contrast to much of Western philosophy, which is described as focusing more on scientific, logical, and rational inquiry, as ends in themselves.
And at last, we get to the best part, the fruits of the tree. We're talking about the real-world, tangible, world-changing stuff that grew out of this massive, interconnected system. This is where theory becomes technology.
Let's just take Ayurveda, for example. This isn't some new fad. The sources tell us it was developed more than 3,000 years ago. That makes it one of the oldest holistic or whole-body healing systems on the entire planet. Think about that. 100 generations passing down this knowledge. And listen, it wasn't just about take this herb or change your diet. No way. Just check out this quote from the ancient surgeon Susruta. He says surgery is the highest division of the healing arts. That's not someone who thinks of surgery as a messy last resort. That's someone with incredible confidence, who sees it as a precise science.
And he had the skills to back it up. Susruta's write-ins detail things that are just mind-blowing for the time. He pioneered techniques in plastic surgery, especially rhinoplasty, rebuilding noses. He perfected cataract removal. He cataloged over 1,000 different diseases and even described more than 100 different surgical instruments he used. This is a direct result, a direct fruit of the system's holistic view of the body. And the list of fruits just keeps going. And it's staggering. In metallurgy, they created iron pillars that are still standing today, rust-free. In math, just the tiny concept of zero and the decimal system, which, is the foundation for pretty much all modern technology. In physics, they had an early atomic theory. In urban planning, the world's first planned cities with underground drainage. And in astronomy, incredibly advanced ways of tracking stars and planets. All of these amazing fruits grew from the very same tree.
Which brings us right back to where we started, to the main idea of this whole explainer. The thing to remember is this. The invention of zero wasn't seen as separate from philosophy, and surgery wasn't disconnected from understanding life force. It was all part of one single, unified, deeply interconnected body of wisdom. So I'll leave you with a final question to chew on. This ancient system, this tree, saw knowledge as a whole. But today, our world is all about hyper-specialization, right? We learn in these tiny, separate boxes. We keep physics over here and philosophy way over there. Medicine and metaphysics don't even talk to each other. So you have to wonder, in becoming experts in all our little fields, what big, crucial connections have we lost along the way?